Hi, and welcome to the next part of my series of lessons for the absolute beginner, absolute beginning blues guitar. Now you could use these lessons to get into any kind of guitar, but since my channel is geared towards acoustic and electric blues, that's what I'm going to sort of aim my lessons for. Now, in the first lesson, we learned a lot of stuff and we got started with chord progressions. And in this lesson, I'm going to teach you some more beginning chords that you need to have down before you really can progress and learn any kind of cool songs. The next chord progression is going to start with a C. So this is a C chord. This is a very important chord to learn for electric and acoustic blues guitar. My first finger is on the first fret of the second string. My second finger is on the second fret of the fourth string. And my third finger is on the third fret of the fifth string. It's a C chord. So again, practice that chord. Learn it. In the first lesson we talked about the steps of learning a chord. This is how I do it. First you got to make sure you're putting your fingers in the right place. And just take your hand off and then make the chord until you feel like you can just slap it right on there. And then as you do that, as you feel more comfortable putting the fingers where they belong, start picking the strings. I picked the open E string when I was doing that. I shouldn't have done that. Just the middle strings 5 through 2 to start out with. And then take hand off, put it on, take hand off, put it on. Practice picking the strings, taking your hand off, and just keep practicing until you've got the chord to where you can put the fingers where they belong quickly and it sounds good. If it doesn't sound good, remember, your fingers are doing something wrong. They're either not on the string properly, they're not in the right place. That's up to you to check. Now the second chord in this progression is probably the toughest one for beginners to get the hang of. This is the F chord. And the F looks like this. And for acoustic blues, you're going to learn to play it with the thumb eventually. And this is something that we'll probably stay away from here at the beginning, but eventually you're going to have to get the hang of it. You're going to have to put your first finger over both the first and second strings at the first fret. Whoops, see that? I wasn't fretted properly. And then you're going to take your second finger on the second fret of the third string. And then my third finger on the third fret of the fourth string. So the main part of the chord sounds like that. The only thing missing is the bass note. We don't have a bass note. And to do that, when you're playing acoustic blues, you've got to learn to take your thumb. This is going to be pretty near impossible if you're just starting playing. And try to wrap it around and get that first fret of the sixth string. That's your F. That takes a lot of practice. For now, you can just play the top 4 strings, or the top 4 strings, 1 through 4. Now, later you can also play a bar chord, like that, and we'll get into that possibility too. If your hand is just too small and you can't make that wrap, there's options. You can use a capo, you can do some other things to avoid having to do that. But if you want to play with an F chord and have that bass without a capo, then you have to wrap that thumb around up there. Now the final chord in this progression, we've got C, F, and then G. G is a very common chord in acoustic blues. You'll hear it all the time. And in fact, one of our first songs that we're going to learn, I'm going to show you a song in the key of G. My first finger is out of it. I'm keeping my first finger free up here, and we'll learn why a little bit later. My second finger is on the second fret of the fifth string. My ring finger is on the third fret of the sixth string. And then my pinky is going to go on the third fret of the first string. Then I'm picking all the strings. This is one of those really great sounding chords. E and G, in my opinion, are the two chords that have the most power to them. They just sound so good because you're using all the strings and some open strings in there. So same deal with the G and the F. You practice putting your fingers on, taking them off, putting them on, taking them off, picking, strumming, G chord, take it off, put it on. These are what are called 3-chord progressions. So C, F, and G. And this is a very common progression used in a lot of country blues tunes, these 3 chords together. Now there are other chords you can mix in there as well, and we'll get into that a little bit later. So there's another beginning chord progression. Work on those 3 chords. Now once you get those chords, whoops, G, C, F, mix them in with the other chords when you're practicing. See if you can switch back and forth, for instance, between a G and an E. So practice that. G, E, G, E. Then try A and C. A and B7 and G and E and F. And just keep mixing them up. So you want to be able to switch from one chord to any other chord. And that's especially true with these we call these first position chords that are played up here on the first 3, top 3, bottom 3 frets rather, of the guitar. So you want to just practice those the same way I showed you to practice the others. So you've got to do that. And once you get comfortable with those chords, then you'll be ready for the final lesson in this series, which is going to be some practice songs to get started playing the stuff. Come back, I'll show you another progression, some other beginning chords that you should learn to get started, and we'll do that in just a minute.